As far as I understand, you are responsible for teaching, maybe not responsible for teaching, but you're responsible for the content of European integration in ENA. Correct?
So it's not exactly the case. In fact, I am a diplomat, career diplomat, but I have also an academic background. I'm teaching in the Institute for Political Sciences in Paris. And in ENA, now I am posted in ENA and I am responsible for international relations. So it's more, administrative function. But I have kept some academic activities, and I have, because I was posted in Brussels in the permanent mission of the EU, to the EU, French mission to the EU, I have written a small book about EU foreign policy, la politique étrangère européenne, European foreign policy. As you know, it has been changing a lot with the Lisbon Treaty, and that's why
With the mic that you Okay, good. It's on your video. Okay, sorry.
So I've already had the opportunity to make a presentation or a conference in many capitals. I have done that in Beijing, in Roma, in Zagreb, and I'm happy to do it again here in Kiev.
We are generally we have two questions which. Even today, when I was talking on, I think on telephone or on the internet with our people, with somebody, and I said that we will have a topic which is European integration as it is understood or part of foreign relations and trained in ENA. And it was what? France is thinking about European integration. How is it possible France is not enough European integrated? And so, and I'm saying, as far as I know, EU and France and Europe are all very different things. And so we are, that is one thing, which is European integration content, right? For the countries, the members of European Union, and for public servants, because this is what we are interested in, and as far as I understand, it is more diplomats than public servants. Is that right? But still,
diplomats are civil servants.
Of the same, yes, they are civil servants. So it is not. You don't have separate army or diplomats or separate army like these. These are métiers of the territorial public servants. We don't have, unfortunately, métiers of the central.
You know, in France, we don't have yet a diplomatic academy, so de facto, ENA is doing a lot of diplomatic training.
I see.
So
I didn't even know. I thought that was only. I always read that it was civil service. Yes. De Gaulle, how he created it and what he said for defending French democracy and freedom. He created both civil service, French civil service, and ENA. This is how I read about creation of ENA. Sounded fantastic for us. So it is then how it is one issue. Then the other thing is public servants, or in France, or diplomats, because they are public servants anyway, right? The standards and the demands or the criteria of evaluation, how different they are from European. Are there any, do you ever talk about that? Is that any, how is it? Also, because for us, for the time being, our public administration reform has nothing to do with this either compatibility or harmonization or whatever. We are not looking into that. We are so far away. But that would be very interesting to understand. So please tell us, and you will leave us the book?
I don't know, because
or we can have a copy.
Not many,
you will write down. Okay. Could you give it to me? I will write down the name. Good.
It's
good. please.
So, the starting point of the question of the EU foreign policy is to know if there can be, thank you very much, a political Europe. Speaking about political Europe means that you go out of the traditional model of the Westphalian state, because Europe was organized by the sovereignty of the state. It's a so-called Westphalian model, closed states with boundaries, and the idea of the thinkers of the European integration was to develop European unity above the states. So this is the first, the question of the political Europe. And the second objective is to link European integration to a kind of global order based on values. Democracy and human rights, multilateralism, and the objective of collective security. That is to say, peace in Europe, peace in the world. But of course, the problem is that in the world you have still Westphalian states, for example, United States, Russia, China, India, etc. And the EU would be a bit naive if the EU is only defending, generous objectives, ideal representations, instead of defending its interests. So the question of political Europe is also to make the EU more politics-oriented in the international arena, in a world which is itself becoming less Westphalian than before. And this is a chance for the EU integration to play a role in the international relations. So the historical development of the political Europe, I don't speak about the failure of political Europe after World War II. We tried to develop a community of defense. We tried to develop the Council of Europe, but it failed. There was only a community of steel and coal, and then the common market. And only in 1970, after De Gaulle, when De Gaulle left, because De Gaulle was not really a big partisan of political integration of Europe, and after De Gaulle, we started to develop a cooperation between the members of the community in foreign policy. And this process was called European Political Cooperation. At this time, we began to develop, for example, common statements, exchange of informations by a system of communication, CORE, the name is CORE, and this is really the very beginning. And then in 1974, we created the European Council. And the European Council was to make the bridge between the economic integration, common markets, and this political cooperation. So you have a kind of common roof, having leadership on this, on the European construction. Then came, after the end of the Cold War, the Maastricht Treaty, which launched the CFSP, Common Foreign and Security Policy. So it's kind of systematization of the political cooperation in foreign policy through new instruments. In 1999, we gave to this CFSP a common face. It was Javier Solana, the first high representative. So there was a person who represented the EU at the foreign policy level.